Hi, today we are going to do a very important success criteria. It's 1.4.10, which is Reflow. It's a level AA success criteria, and it belongs to the guideline distinguishable under perceivable principle, right? Success criteria 1.4.10 Reflow. It ensures that content on the page adapts when you zoom in to about 400%, which is also equal to 320 pixel size viewports. And it adapts in a way that content can be seen or can be viewed without usage of a horizontal scroll bar. So all the content needs to restack, readapt on the page in a way that everything can be seen within that viewport when you zoom into at 400% without the loss of content getting cut off or the horizontal scroll bar appearing. Let's read a small snippet of the intent as it is written in a WCAG documents to get a better understanding of this. The intent of the success criterion is to let users enlarge text and other related content without having to scroll in two dimensions to read. When lines of text extend beyond the edge of a viewport, users will be forced to scroll back and forth to read line by line. This can cause them to lose their place and can significantly increase both physical and cognitive effort. Therefore, most sections of content are expected to reflow within the appropriate sizing requirement defined by this success criterion. A section of content that requires two-dimensional layout for understanding or functionality, such as a table or map, has an exception to this criterion. So tables, maps, etc., which you can't help but have that two-dimensional layout and those two scroll bars turn up. Those are exceptions. However, sections of content within the two-dimensional layout, such as each cell with a table, would still need to meet this success criterion. Although there is an exception for sections of content that require two-dimensional layout for understanding or functionality. Authors can improve the user's experiences by making efforts to reduce scrolling for that type of data. We're going to use the envisionfinancial.ca website to check for a reflow and see if things reflow correctly and the success criteria is met. Now, the way that you would test for reflow is you have two ways to do it. You either bring the page down, you simulate the page onto a 1280 pixel width, and you zoom in with, say, Command plus, you zoom into a 400% and check it to see if all the content is reflowing in that, or you simulate to a 320 pixels width, which is an equivalent of 1280 400%. So we will simulate it at 320 pixels and check to see if all the content fits in correctly. And the way that I would do it is I would go into an inspect mode and click the responsiveness here. I would bring the dimensions to 320 pixels, and I think 246 here at 100%. Okay. And now I'm going to, I will refresh this because I want it to re-render correctly before I start. And then I'm going to start to scroll and see if all my content is fitting in correctly. So far it looks good. You see that the content has stacked correctly and everything is visible right within this viewport. Viewport is nothing but the window within which your content is being displayed, and the user agents use these viewports to basically calculate the width and the height of your screen. This does not include your scroll bars. It does not include your browser elements around it. It's just the screen within, right? So now this is at this viewport, and we see, okay, I see that this navigation requires us to scroll to the right. See, the scroll bar has appeared. Very interesting. The horizontal scroll bar has appeared for this. And this is just a navigation. It's not under the exception list that it cannot be restacked. This is an issue. This is a reflow issue, very clearly seen here. The reflow issue, which is creating this horizontal scroll bar. So Reflow says that you should be able to just simply go through in this with your vertical scroll bar, and your horizontal scroll bar should not appear for common content, right? So this is a reflow issue that we are looking at. So this is one way to test. So I'm going to now run Axe DevTools and see what issue it picks up for this, because it does exist. So, okay. And let's remove the responsive mode from this. Let me just refresh this main content page again. Okay, so the issue we were seeing was here, okay, for this navigation. All of the other information on top stacked perfectly, and here we had the horizontal bar turning up, right? So let's check. Okay, there are 10 issues. The first one is the elements must meet minimum contrast ratio thresholds. These are 9 issues. It's not related to this success criteria, so I'm going to ignore that. The next one says zooming and scaling must not be disabled. Okay, so let's open that and see what are they referring to. And they are talking about the viewport meta tag within, right? That it has zooming disabled. It's very interesting. So that would be, I'm thinking, another issue, or is it related to this? I'm not sure. But when you disable the ability to zoom in, like in your meta tag where you have your viewport and the content width, device width, that's fine. Initial scale 1, which will allow you to view the content at 100% initially. And then they have a maximum scale of 1, which is the issue. So if when you say maximum scale of 1, it does not allow you to zoom in. Yeah, we need to probably check for zooming as well. But this is in the automated issue has picked up a zoom, the blockage of a zoom ability, and that is a different issue from this, where we are seeing that this is not getting restacked correctly. So let's check for zoom as well. And so we have found 2 issues which are related to reflow with this website. I'm going to just simply zoom in and see what happens. So I'm using my Command and plus on my keyboard with Mac. Click in here, and that's 110, 125, 150, 175, 200%. So at 200% zoom, okay, my content is so do I need, okay, so we have all your content coming in at 200%. Interesting. So what was the issue that it called out, right? For zoom, because we are able to zoom here. Let's go up to 400%. 400%, and this would show you what we had seen with the 320 pixel size. Yes. So here you see that we need to scroll to the right to be able to see this content, because it got cut off, as in the scroll bars appeared. So this zoomability here at the reflow is not working. So we saw that issue. Otherwise, your text is being resized and your zoom is happening. But why do we then still have that issue is the question, right? So I'm going to inspect this like physically. Let's go back to a zoom size of 100. Sorry. Okay. And I'm going to inspect this. I'm going to move the inspection dock to the bottom so I can see my code completely. And let's look for the viewport, the metadata, right? So I'm going to just look through this code and find the meta tag where the viewport has been defined. So let's see, here is my list of meta tags, and here I can see meta name is equal to viewport, content is equal to width equals device width, initial scale is equal to 1.0, and maximum scale is equal to 1.0. Okay, now what I understand is we have said width equal to device width. So that is allowing you to zoom in. It works for accessibility. But we have this issue picked up by DQ, Axe DevTools, is because of the maximum scale equal to 1.0. Now this restricts maximum like zoomability. So this needs to be removed for that issue to go. I think it should go with that. But we still are left with the reflow issue that was not picked up by the automated tool, but which we have identified with our manual checking, right? So that's, again, see, it's important to do manual checks because they find the issues as they are, as opposed to just doing automated tests only, right? So with the manual check, we saw the reflow issue here, and this is how you test for reflow. I think I'm going to stop this here because you get an idea of how we check for reflow. And yeah, thank you. I'll see you again in another video.